Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. So, today we are going to be looking through kind of the first game that I started in Game Builder Garage. I'm calling it a Zelda like game because that was one of the games that was kind of my inspiration for this. It's not going to look that great or exactly the way I wanted it, but I think I got it about as close as I could with kind of the time that I had on my hands. I made a lot of mistakes over this week while trying to just code different things, and I'll show those as we get into them. So I tried a few different camera angles at first to just see what I wanted to do, and I think the game screen kind of works best for what I'm trying to get done here. So that kind of is going to follow the character around. And then I just kind of built out at least a maze. I didn't really plan a lot of this out. I was just sort of throwing stuff around and seeing what happened. So that's kind of why it looks pretty haphazard when you look at at least the product that we're going to be looking at. I had a few ideas that didn't quite make it in yet, or I just haven't figured out exactly how I want to do them. I had this idea of like actually going into a dungeon or something like that. So you would do some sort of a puzzle, a wall would slide open and you'd be able to go into it. Or you'd be able to like blow something up and then you'd be able to go in. So it would be like you would plant a bomb or you would find some sort of a switch or something and that would activate a wall, or you would have something kind of explode. I was able to do the latter where I could figure out like, hey, if I put this switch here, I do this, this sphere explodes, and the spheres are supposed to be rocks, which I need to actually do something with that. But I got it to work a few times. Sometimes it didn't necessarily work, and I have to go back in and kind of figure out what I screwed up. I also played around a little bit with just having enemies on the field and everything. Right now, their AI is incredibly stupid because I haven't really programmed most of their AI, except for the Yetis, which it just doesn't work right now. Whatever I tried, it's just not happening. They kind of like wobble and then fall over. So I think it's kind of funny, but it's not what I want exactly. There are a couple of weird things that I I must have screwed up on. I'm usually just gonna blame operator error on this because there's no other thing it could possibly be. Um, yeah, there are a couple of the puzzles that I kind of wanted to create in this that just don't seem to be working quite right. I'm pretty sure I know what I did, but I I just haven't quite gone back and figured them all out just yet. But enough of me talking about how bad I am at this. Um, right now, it's kind of laid out the way I want it. You have some monsters to sort of indicate that you're in a different level. You've got a few puzzles that you can actually like try and do. They're not super complex in any way, really. It's mostly just, touch this cylinder, then that will destroy the sphere or what's going to be the rock, and then you can move into that area and in theory fight the bosses or fight the bad guys. But right now your character is just overpowered at the moment because I haven't quite programmed it so that you have a little bit of like a sense of danger or anything like that. Oh yeah, to go back to the camera angles, I thought about making this kind of like a third person view, but I just didn't really like it that much. I kind of felt that it would make things a little bit too confusing, so I went with this overhead view instead. I also tried to give the character a weapon right off the bat, so you might see like a pencil laying on the ground. That didn't last long just because I didn't like it that much. It looked kind of weird, and it just didn't do what I wanted it to do. So I kind of switched it back to your player kicking and punching, and that seemed to work out a lot better. Yeah, you can see the guy's just way overpowered at the moment. You can just kind of walk through the enemies like nothing's really gonna stop him. It really kind of defeats the point of this being a challenge at the moment, but we'll get better. And I really haven't placed a lot of the enemies in different spots right now. So I tied a few of the boulders to like kind of the bigger bosses. So you see like the larger sorceress there, you saw the bigger yeti, and you'll see another kind of giant character later. I wanted to tie it to, or at least test it out if I could make it so you kill one of the bigger bosses, that opens up a new area for you to play around in. And it worked, at least sometimes it worked. I've got a few issues with one of them, but for the most part, it's working out pretty well. But yeah, you can see the Yetis. They just kind of wobbled and fell over. So I have them programmed to be moving, but I don't have them like programmed for a direction just yet. Yeah, I just haven't gotten around to that part. But, we'll get there. I don't really know if I want... Because I thought about having them actually, like, shoot things at you, which would make it a lot harder, or at least it would make the game a lot harder. And it might add to, like, some kind of a challenge to it. And it would make a lot of sense, since going for a Zelda game, the Zelda enemies can shoot at you and actually try to attack you. We'll see about getting that done kind of next week, but... For right now, they just kind of wobble around and then fall over. It's funny, but it's not really giving me the desired effect at the moment. I'm almost tempted to just leave it the way it is, just because I find it... I really do find it amusing. Like, if you catch it at the right time, and you get into this room, you can watch them just kind of wobble and fall over. It's humorous, it's funny, it makes me laugh, but it's definitely not what we want from the game. But yeah, I really do need to just clean up some of the things that I'm doing in here because they don't really make a lot of sense. I might actually go back to having one or two of just the giant spheres be movable. Like that one, it ended up like I made it so it was supposed to break when a boss gets killed, and that boss dies, and then it doesn't break. So I need to go back and figure out what the issue was with that. But yeah, it seems to be working pretty well, or at least most of them seem to be working pretty well. I was having some problems with, as you saw when you were doing that puzzle, the cylinder like falling off the wall. I kind of decided that I liked it that way, just because it just kind of makes it feel like you did something a little bit more. You can kind of see, okay, this was holding whatever in place for that boulder, and now that it's gone, the boulder gets destroyed, almost like you set off some dynamite or something. I might change the effects a little bit to be more of an explosion. We'll see what happens later. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas at the moment to just kind of see what I might want to do. Yeah, as you can tell, I didn't really have much of a plan for this to do a lot of the other things. I'm kind of just doing things as I find them interesting. This part here is after like the last big boulder. I wanted to actually have an end to the game, so it wasn't just like, okay, you made it out, now you're just in this barren game world wandering around. So I created like this little touch sensor that's going to end the game, and then I have to figure out some other stuff that I want to do, because I don't just want the game to stop. I want it to actually make it look like you did something, and that'll be a little bit satisfying, that sort of thing. Like maybe some music plays, a little sound effect, or some other stuff happens. We'll see. I'll play around with some stuff next week, and we'll just kind of see where it leads us. That's one thing that I really am enjoying with this, is just all the trial and error in it. So You mess around with something, try to get it to work. If it doesn't, then, you just try something else. Maybe change what you were doing and then just, see how it happened. Just, this has been a lot of fun, just messing around with it. And it's been a bit of a stress reliever for me, just because, some other weird stuff is going on, and I didn't get to play this as much as I really wanted to, but whatever. Life goes on. I'll just play it a little bit more next week. We'll see what happens. Probably the one big thing that I'm a little bit upset about with this is just how barren I've made this world. Especially at the moment where there's just not really much going on. There's not a whole lot for you to do. And it looks kind of boring at the moment. I think that I want to try to add some more stuff in here to make it look a little bit more lively, like something actually is living in here. The AI for the enemies will actually help, so it's not just like, hey, there are all these statues that just kind of stand there and occasionally wobble and fall over, but for the most part don't really do anything. I also need to make it, because I don't want your character to just die on one hit, so I kind of want to have them have like 2 or 3, and that's going to take a little bit of time for me to just kind of figure out what I want to do and how I want to do it, and if it can be done, so that's always fun. But for the most part, we're just working through all of this stuff. One thing I noticed is just if you hold down the punch or the kick button, the guy will just slide around with it. I find that really funny. So you might see me doing that a little bit here. That's kind of been one of the big things with this. I just find things funny in this game. Just the weird stuff that you can do, the weird things that are not bugs, but definitely are actions from like the programming that you did. It's just really kind of funny. This game has just been a lot of fun to mess around with. So yeah, I've got the stuff that I kind of want to work on for next week and just kind of see where it goes. I don't really play this game as much as I want to. Mostly just I don't get to play a lot of video games as much as I want to. And I need to figure out what to do with that boulder. I might just move it back to be movable at the end and kind of get rid of the code that I threw on there. But we'll see what happens. Next week is another week. So hey, I'll see where I am then, and I'll get back to you next Saturday. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great weekend and a great week as well. Later.